Welcome to the SubHub podcast.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Steep Stuff Pod.
And yeah, that's right. You guys heard right. We're doing our first ever collab between the two main short trail sub ultra. We'll get into that in this podcast, but amazing collaboration between the SubHub podcast and the Steep Stuff podcast. I am Dani Moreno.
I'm EmKay Sullivan.
And I'm James Lauriello.
And yeah, I think we're all equally stoked about this. And we kind of all brainstormed and we figured this would be called the state of short trail, the state of sub ultra trail running. When I reached out to you, James, initially, how did you feel about it?
Oh, I was super excited. And I gotta add one thing to what you just said too about saying short trail versus sub, which we'll get into. I had another person say to me like this week, they're like, it should be called short trail. So just to interject before we even get going, I think that's something we need to get into for sure. I'm super excited.
Yeah, we'll see if we have time to try to define what all this means. But yeah, when we sat down to like take notes for this pod, I felt like we had 1 million things that we could talk about for the state of sub ultra. Thus far, we're about halfway through the year, so we'll try to keep it relatively not short. We're not going to keep it short realistically, but we'll keep it kind of short for you guys.
The ultra podcast of sub ultra short trail podcast. I'm just gonna have to say both of them at the same time. But for you guys listening, this is gonna be a 2-part series. So this first part will be on one of our podcasts, and then we'll cut it off, and then you could hear the rest of our rants, geniusness, brainstorming, whatever you want to call hot takes, cold takes, lukewarm takes on the other podcast. So that way you get just a hit of both. And then while you're at it, if you aren't following the other podcast or one of them, the other, you get what I'm saying. Follow on Spotify, Apple, subscribe on YouTube, follow on Instagram, all the fun things. Quick break from this wonderful collaboration with the Steep Stuff podcast. We just wanted to tell you guys about our favorite partnership, which is with Never Second.
If you guys haven't tried Never Second at this point, I don't know what you're doing. You guys have been listening up to us for so long talk about it, but yeah, Never Second. Still, we have a 25% discount code that you guys can use anytime you go to the website. Right now, I have been in the pool more than I've been on my feet lately, which has been kind of fun. But I do tend to cramp a little bit in the pool because I'm pointing my toes and I'm pregnant and things just happen. So I have been using the C30 drink mix in my little water bottle on the side of the pool because I get a little bit of carbs, also some sodium, and I have been having less calf cramps.
That C30, the C30 drink mix is just all-time favorite. I have also been using that as I continue to prep for CCC, my first 100K. And the big thing for me, again, I've mentioned in a couple other episodes, is the new unflavored gel. And what I've been doing is using it as a diluter to other flavors. So I'll use, for example, a passion fruit gel with the unflavored gel, or if I'm trying to get a lot of carbs, I'll use a C90 orange mix and then add a unflavored gel to bring my carb count to 120 in one bottle. So yeah, if you guys haven't checked out that unflavored gel, please do. I think it's such a game changer.
That's a good idea, just because I know a lot of people I don't experience flavor fatigue, but I know a lot of people do. So adding that like unflavored to kind of dilute, I like it.
Thanks. Top tier tip.
So yeah, if you guys are wanting to try out Never Second or just restock on what you already have, make sure you guys go to the website at never2.com and enter our code SubHub25 for 25% off of your order.
Now back to the episode.
All right. Should we start with talking about some series? I mean, most of you know who listen to our podcast, like kind of the main series in the sub ultra short trail world right now are Golden Trail, Skyrunner, WMRA, Cirque Series. UTMB's kind of in that space because we generally also cover some 50Ks on this podcast. And we just kind of want to go through and talk about some like pros, some cons, the state of these top series.
Yeah, no, I gotta second that, like 100%. I'm super excited to chat about, like, Danny, what you kind of mentioned before, maybe us each picking one, talking about it, getting into what series we're excited about, and maybe kind of rolling from there. I can jump on this one. I think the first one that I gotta get into is the Cirque series. Super excited about this one. This is a series that's been around for a bit now. This is their 10th anniversary. I think what Julian has been able to create with the Cirque series is this beautiful mountain classic distance, which we all love so much. This sub, damn it, I said sub. Short trail, high octane,
You can still say it
super.
right now.
I can still say. I want to almost like getting that into that like idea of saying more short trail. But anyway, back on the Cirque series, this like high octane, super hard, form of racing. And one of the things that I wanted to add to it was just this. As you both are very familiar with it, it's just such a good entry point to the sport. Like we see 500 to 600 sometimes, athletes getting into it and being able to race these, and I think it's one of the easiest entry points into trail running.
Especially here in the US. I feel like you see a lot of like US college athletes kind of finding their hold in this space at Cirque Series events. Like I feel like that's where we first kind of really heard about Christian Allen. It's where we first heard about Taylor Stack. Even Jane Mouse has like kind of made her name in some Cirque Series races. So definitely a good point about being a good entry point.
Yeah, and there's a lot of crossover too. Like you said, to your point, like so many athletes who we've kind of are starting to have already made their names and starting to really make their names on some of the longer stuff, like the Golden Trail series. You'll start to see their names, yeah, big time, kind of pop up entry point, maybe out of college or something like that, where they're a little trail curious, if you will. They'll race some of these races. Oakley Olson's a good example, who was the 2024 collegiate national title holder on the trail side. Like plenty of these athletes usually, for some reason, jump into the trail or jump into Cirque series first, and then kind of start moving up into the longer stuff.
Yeah, and I do want to correct us. It's Jane Moss because I got a
Moss.
message from Grayson that we've been saying it wroong. So Jane
Sorry,
Moss.
Jane.
Yeah, sorry, Jane. Yeah, it's pretty interesting because I think back to even when I was getting going in trails and like Ashley Brossovin was like, I don't know, a big name kind of like Grayson coming into the trail space really fast, incredible high school career. Had a little trouble in college, but she's just like, and then she had just hit the trials mark. I'm pretty sure like one of her first three trail races was also a Cirque Series race. And I remember her telling me about it. It's like to the point that we were just making, like, it's just an approachable distance. It's hard. And it's definitely, I think, more akin to European style racing, but I've even been trying to get away from that because we've always had mountains here. We just have always gravitated towards runnable ultras, like as Americans when we create courses. So yeah, I think Julian has done a really cool thing, and I would say, or I would attest that like one of the points of immediate success is that he brought prize money into it. And so from right off the bat, you were making money off of shorter distances. And for people who focused on those shorter distances, i.e. Joe Gray, Allie Mack, it was like, why wouldn't I roll up to these races finally in America where, I can make a decent check and I don't have to like race in the biggest races in Europe and stuff like that.
And you can do it like 6 times, 7 times, whatever it is, and it's just such a short season that you're not really taking away from the rest of your season.
Yeah, no, definitely. The only con, I don't even know if I would call it that, is like it wasn't global, but I wouldn't even say that was a con. It was just like neutral. It's just like it was a really good North American series, and now they've gone international,
Yeah.
which is pretty cool. The only thing I'm curious about is if they're going to keep it a cohesive series or break it into like continental series.
Yeah. So the thing about going global, they went back when On was their title sponsor, and I don't want to get too in the weeds in this, but like back when On was the title sponsor, that was kind of their race in Switzerland for their title sponsor On. Now that Sportiva has kind of taken and become the title sponsor, they are. It's become more North American. I think the big question I have, and like to your point, like not necessarily a con, I think it's, are we going to expand this internationally, or are we going to, I think the next step, which would be really cool to see, would be a series final where the athletes in the pro ranking can get together, maybe the top 20 or however they want to rank it, and they meet at a neutral location at a neutral site for maybe an international race or somewhere, and throw down there, and that way you know, with the opportunity for more prize money or something like that. And I think that gets eyes on it along with media and things like that. I think it will continue to grow it into, you know, just more of just the premier mountain classic set of distances across the country, if not the world.
And I think most US athletes, whether they're like ultra, somebody like myself who's dabbling in ultras but still does some like short trail stuff, I would be so interested in that because you could compete again in this series and not take too much away from like your other events because the races are 6 to 7 miles long and obviously they are hard, but you could do like 3 or 4 of them sprinkled into your regular season, make a little bit of money, compete in a series, and then still do your other stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. But also if you're like coming out of college and it is a
Yeah.
lot, then it's like the perfect entry series or the series you just choose to focus on the rest for your career. And I kind of like that idea, James. It like makes me think of the Golden Trail National Series, which doesn't exist anymore. It feels like a blip at this point. But it was kind of like each continental series happened. And then the top 3 athletes, I forget what it was, but the top athletes would then get invited to the final. And I kind of like that idea. I'm always a bigger fan of like less is more and like just do what you're really, really good at. And so if they had like smaller scale continental series and then that final, because when you said, also when you said classic, it made me think the only classic championship we have is the World Championships. There's
Yep.
no other
Yeah.
distance like ETC and what is it, YCC? But YCC is like the young persons. I forget what they call it, young whatever. But ETC is like kind of getting up there, but not. There's no prize money, I don't think.
Yeah.
No, no.
Well, and
Yeah,
nobody's contracts are going to bonus that. Like maybe a few, but not big
yeah,
time.
yeah. So the only classic race championship is the World Championships at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which, with that, I mean, that does give us the opportunity through that race series then to attract more European talent or people from across the world to go compete there. Because if you're, for instance, you know, on a biannual basis when we do worlds, like it's a good opportunity to go throw down and get prepped for races like that. You know, whereas I don't know. There just aren't too many of those races floating around in North America other than what we, you know, offer through the Circsters. And to one more point before we move to the next one, just like you can even say like some of these races are just so iconic. Like Aliaska that took place last week. Like wow, like
Beautiful.
what an insane course. Like I know that they kind of revere that as the crown jewel, but just what a crazy course. So yeah, like there's a lot to offer in North America for races like that.
yeah.
Absolutely. I can do some Skyrunner pros and cons if we want to get into that.
Get
Talking a
it.
little bit about less is more. This is kind of like the opposite. Skyrunner has done a lot of good stuff over the last couple years. I think the pros are definitely one, they're providing opportunities to athletes quite literally all over the world. I would say the place that has the least amount of races at this point is almost like North America because we just have Minotaur, unless I am missing a race in North America.
Oh, I think there's one in
Mexico Sky
Oh, and
Mexico.
the
Challenge. Yeah.
Mexico one, yeah, which are still so far apart. But they have a handful of races down in South America now, Asia. There's nothing in Africa, unfortunately, but still offering a lot of opportunity to athletes, offering prize money at all of these races, whether it's big or small. And then they have a pretty decent prize purse at the end of the year as well. So if you choose to focus on Skyrunner, you can make a lot of money, but you can also make a decent amount of money even if you're just going to like your local regional Skyrunner races. But in that same breath, the cons that Danny and I have talked about many times with Skyrunner is there's almost just too much. Like it's hard to invest in the series because it's like every single weekend is something you have to pay attention to, which, you know, just as a general like consumer is hard to keep up with. But I mean, some of those courses are like crazy iconic, kind of like Cirque Series, you know, they're just like you're watching these people like run down these ridges and you're like, how does this my personal brain does not compute that. But yeah, it's a little bit too much for me at this point to keep up with, but I do appreciate the opportunities that they're providing.
Yeah, I agree. I got to ask you this question, MK and Danny. Like, if we did get a U.S. Skyrunner series, or not even a series, but if we were to have a race in the United States for under the Skyrunner like kind of that banner, do you think it would attract a ton of like a big audience, or do you think like would it be popular, do you think?
I think it would have to be a race that already had popularity, like the Rut or Broken Arrow, or something East Coast. I don't know.
Or
We just don't
Colorado.
have, or Colorado, yeah. We just like we don't have many like epic ridgeline type stuff like that, except for outside of maybe the Rut.
Yeah.
Well, it's also interesting just because, like, again, the nature of trail origin in the US, a lot of people aren't exposed to that type of racing unless they seek it out. And, like, they truly are, like, into that adventure seeking. Because even as we see on the Skyrunner World Series, I mean, we also, for everyone's defense, we don't have a race in the US yet, but there's not a lot of Americans that really commit to that series right now. They mostly, because we're ultra heavy, I would say UTMB. Golden Trail's even a little sparse this year compared to previous years. Valsier Mountain World Running Cup, they're kind of starting to get in that zone of, do they have too many races to where it's like hard to follow? Most of them, 90% I would say, are in Europe.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of like viewership fatigue and not like that implanted interest. With that being said, if like Flow Track started showing cool ass clips of, runners on skylines and stuff like that, I guarantee you there would be collegiate athletes that are like, whoa, I don't want to do roads, I don't want to do track, I don't want to do ultras or like runnable stuff. I want to do that stuff. So I think it's also just like that increased, I don't know how to say, like pollination of the media. Something I was thinking about today on my ride, though, I'm like, with Skyrunner, to your point, MK, like, it's so great the opportunities they're giving across the board, and they truly are a global series. They're like one of the few series that have races on almost every continent. I think what they should do, potential solution, is before they launch their series calendar next year, go to their like tried and true elites, like top 30 men, top 30 women from the last couple years, put out a survey and say, like, of all these races, which ones would fit best into your calendar slash are you most interested in? And then they narrow down the point, like the races where you can gain points, to like 6 or 8. So that way it like brings all the runners together, and they could still do other races, but they're not going to get points or prize money for them. And so it's like an agreed upon schedule. And then that is like the premier Skyrunner races. So
So then they're
people,
racing.
yeah, exactly. It like brings all the competition back together. It's like comparing it to UTMB. I think UTMB works is because there's only one race that's like the final. You have the majors now, I guess now too. But like people are trying to qualify just to make that final. So it's a pretty low, what's that called? Like investment. You have
Yeah.
to pick one race, try and get top 3 or top 10. Whereas Skyrunner, it's like, oh my gosh, do you guys know how many races? Like 20 plus,
It's
maybe?
like 24 or
Yeah.
something, yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah.
It's a little overwhelming, like when you're trying to pick your calendar out. Yeah.
Or even us as like media people trying to like last
Cover
year
it.
I
Cover
tried to
it.
cover a little bit of it, and I was like, darn,
It's
there's
hard to keep up with.
a lot of races to follow
Yeah.
along. And
But
that's
that'd be
not,
cool.
yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I think the one question too, not to, because I know, just to bring it back to the North American audience, like my question is, especially for you, Danny, as a former USA Skyrunner champion, like I would just wonder, like, what works and what doesn't work, like what didn't work, I guess, going along that line as to why there is no, the race dissolution, if you will, of that entity, and it's not like really like present anymore. And if we were to bring it back, like, what would that look like, kind of thing? I think that's more of a question. You can
It's
open it.
funny when you say that. It almost sounds like a made up title at this point. It's like, no, I swear, I was the US Skyrunning champion. I think for me at that point, I was so young in my career, and all the races in the calendar were like pretty short. Like they were like 20Ks. It was Broken Arrow, Audi Power of Four. There was like a final in Texas that I did.
Oh, yeah, Franklin Mountains. Yeah, yeah,
Yes, yes, yes.
yeah.
Franklin Mountains. I forget what the other couple were, but those were the ones that I did. And so for me in my career, that was like the only option. Cirque didn't exist and Golden Trail didn't exist. And so admittedly, when those came into play and Skyrunner just died in the US, I was like, well, that's obviously the next option for me.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I think you need to pitch it as like, I don't know. I don't know, actually. I'd have to think about it. But that's Skyrunner. Yeah. So, little teeter-tottered. Yeah, I think we all like we want to see it succeed.
Oh
It's
yeah.
Yeah, because
just
it's like
like
a different sport almost. Like it's a
it's so
totally different
sick.
niche that's so sick that I wish I was capable
I know,
of.
me too. I
I
was
think
like, I
everybody
wish.
does.
I know. I was like, if I could be like Karina Carsolio, like
Yeah.
just crushing those, I would be so cool. So cool.
But
Yeah.
instead I'm just running.
Yeah. No, agreed.
Oh
Um,
man.
all right, let's switch gears. Golden Trail. I feel like that's an easy one. James, first thoughts, pros and cons.
Oh, I was going to give this one to you just because
Yeah.
you're the Golden Trail. I mean, both of you are, but I think you guys have a
Yeah.
significant more experience than I do on it.
Um, I think pros are obvious. Like the media is, I think, tier A, like A tier when it comes to like how series should do media. Obviously, it's been a lot of years in the making, but the fact that you can like watch it on HBO Max now is crazy. I think they hit potentially a tipping point. Was it last year when they increased the races to 8 races?
And
Um,
you had to use
4
4 to qualify, and this year they went back to
to
3.
3. Yeah, I felt like the shift to 4 races turned a lot of runners off because it was just, I mean, we keep saying it's short trail, but short trail is really hard, folks. It's like running, uh, maybe not quite a road marathon, but almost there, like multiple times a year. And sometimes beating you up even more, and you're more inclined to injury because of the terrain. Um, so yeah, I think they kind of missed a opportunity, or they kind of messed up a little bit there. And then yeah, the flower format is definitely a point where I think some runners are having some trouble with that, but I get it because they're trying to make that like the Olympic format.
Yeah.
But
It
my
seems like a
number,
pro and a con almost.
yeah, it's like neutral. My number one like tough with the Golden Trail is just lack of drug testing. That's my main
Yeah.
thing. I'm like, that would solidify them as the premier series to me if they just did that. And it just seems like such a simple ask. And just imagining where all the money is going, I'm like, I feel like you could find the money to get some drug testing
Yeah.
legitimately.
Well,
That's
Um,
unfortunately, any races that have happened in the US in the past, I think like 3 years have had drug testing. Like I know Mammoth Trail Fest, Pikes
yeah,
Peak Ascent, Broken Arrow. I don't know about Flagstaff Sky Peaks, but what was the other?
that's a good point.
Headlands.
Headlands.
They
Yeah,
all had drug testing, but that's only because the American races were like,
yeah.
this is a non-negotiable for us. So
Yeah, no, I got to say, I totally agree on all those things, and I think it's a worthy investment to put. And I think it would attract more athletes. I mean, this obviously opens up a whole different conversation that we can either save for later when it comes to the drug testing conversation. But I think I can't speak for certain athletes, but I think if we had a better drug testing framework abroad, you would see more. You would see Joe Gray probably more. You would see Dan Kurtz probably more. I think there's a lot of athletes that have been very outspoken
Yeah.
about racing internationally under that framework. So.
I 100% agree with that. I feel like I'm one of those athletes that's like, I could take it or leave it because I don't trust many of the people there. So,
MK is a
um,
skeptic.
yeah, I'm a big
I
skeptic.
agree. I
So,
agree.
and
Yeah.
it doesn't, I mean, it also as a racer, it just does not feel good, to like get beat and not have the confirmation that you're looking for. But my pros for Golden Trail is that they are doing a very good job of covering the women's races, either starting the women's race first, having 2 separate days. They really are trying to like give equal coverage, which a lot of other series, as we know, are not doing the same things there. Big con for me, and I think Danny, your point was like pretty good that they maybe misstepped last year by increasing the amount of commitment that you had to have to the series. I've said it recently, I'll say it again. I'm getting bored with like the same storylines. We have just less athletes this year, it seems, competing in this series. And because of it, like most of the races end up finishing exactly the same way every single time. And I'm just, yeah, it's not as exciting to me. So,
Can we, I mean, on that topic, right. I think, and we've kind of addressed this offline. We've kind of discussed it a little bit, and I'll watch my wording here, but I think the, it seems a little top heavy this year and maybe a little less deep in
yeah.
certain things. Do we attribute that because it's a Worlds year? Do we think it's because of like the UTMB effect? Like, what do you guys think?
I th- I think it's mostly UTMB effect, but I think that the World's year does play some part.
Yeah. My gut leans towards the UTMB effect.
Yeah.
Um, but it's just so interesting because the years that I was in Golden Trail, so 21, 22, partially 23, I just kind of jumped in at Mammoth Trail Fest, the 23. Each year there was like a new superstar.
Yep.
Um, and yeah, I don't know who the new superstar is right now on the women's side. I guess it would be Valentine, who won in China.
Yeah, but like
Um,
we haven't really seen her since. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, you
So,
could make an argument for Joyce, but Joyce was very heavy on the scene last year too. So,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
she won last year
yeah,
You
too.
know, Tommy and I were talking about this recently because I feel like a lot of the short trail athletes are starting to compete in, especially in Europe, and many more of the UTMB 50K events instead of Golden Trail or on top of Golden Trail, which makes their Golden Trail races just less good because they're racing 50Ks all the time. And I think it's because UTMB now has so many opportunities for these 50Ks, and most contracts bonus, a podium at a UTMB event, whether it's a major or not. And it's like, okay, I could go get top three at a UTMB event that barely has anybody there, or I could go get ninth place at a Golden Trail event and make $1,000. I think that's a big part of it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because UTMB is spread pretty thin at this point too for qualifying races.
Yeah. Yeah. Which we'll get into that in a
Yeah.
second. Um, but yeah, I think my potential solution, which does require more money, and I know Golden Trail has tried to outsource another sponsor because Solomon has been like the top tier sponsor and just like try to make an effort because they had Cetus. I don't know if Cetus still is a sponsor. NAC was a couple of years ago. I want to say, don't quote me on that. Cetus for sure was, but like I don't know if they still are. And so I don't know if Solomon is just playing the Monopoly game and being like, no, we're it, that's all. Or if Golden Trail can try and get, like, I don't know if they're making money off of this the live streaming or if they paid for that. I don't know how that money works. But, anyways, both of these require money. Number one, drug testing, all the races, not the US races. Thanks for correcting me
And
on that
definitely the
earlier.
final.
And definitely the final, top 10. Like,
Top 10 at the final. Yeah.
yeah. And then my second one is like pay stipends to athletes to compete or be in the series.
Appearance fees. Yeah, to like
Appearance
be there
fees.
the whole time.
Yep.
Exactly. And I think that will balance out the money that athletes are seeing, like they could potentially make at UTMB. And then suddenly it becomes, I don't know, I felt like when I was in it in 2021 and 22, it's like there were so many character storylines and they did such a good
Yeah.
job. And I know they're still doing that, but there's always a new face being like, oh, and now we have another challenger. So yeah, I think like having almost like Grand Slam track, like you're contracted through the whole year. And then if you show up and make a splash, you can also get a contract,
Yeah.
adjusted. Yeah.
Yeah, I have one question for you, Danny, because you kind of hit on this earlier with the national series. Is there any reason as to why that disappeared? Was it just not getting as much eyeballs? Like,
I
do you
think
know
it's
what
money.
money?
Because I think there used to be like an incentive, right? Because you got sent to like the final or and they helped pay for you and stuff. And my guess is that they just don't have the money to continue to do all of it.
Yeah, because that could have been a
Yeah.
great feeder program for them to get more of these athletes, the up and coming athletes that would be, might be drawn more to UTMB, but to kind of pipeline them into the Golden Trail.
Totally. I mean, I can't imagine how much money that was though when they did two finals. And then that was the year Lennox won. You
Yep.
Yeah.
remember that?
Janelle Links and Darren Thomas.
Yeah.
Oh, he won the men's
Yeah.
side?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't even realize that. And then the following year, I think they all went to the same place.
Yep.
Madeira. Yeah. Wild. Well, that's Golden Trail. All right, let's keep this rolling.
Let's do UTMB. You want to do that one?
Yeah, I feel like, do you have any strong opinions about it that you want to start us off with? I have a couple, but
Oh, I'll
I
let you.
mean,
I'll let you take it away, or you guys.
okay. Let me start. Okay, initially when the whole like top three or whatever, I was one of the people that was up in arms where I'm like, this is dumb. Why the heck are we doing this? As time has gone on, I kind of get it. And it, like, my argument is that it's actually working. And I didn't expect it to work. I was kind of like a naysayer. I'm like, no one's gonna like jump in those races and stuff. But the fact that they've made so many races now, so I will say, like, kudos to them on that. Um, I do think they need prize money at more races besides just the majors. I think that would help tremendously, even if it was like a couple $1,000s here and there. Um, and the finals, I feel like need to be way more money than they are.
Yeah.
And
I
I
like
would,
oh
oh,
sorry.
I was just gonna say to second that, I think that a major should be more than like what is it at this point? Like a third of the prize money of the final? Like
I feel like
it
if you
should
want
be
to make
like
it a big
half
deal,
at least.
Yeah.
yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
It
And
kind of is though, because I got
I guess
5,500.
it's half for the short 100K and less distances. But it's still only 6,000 for the 100-mile distance and which UTMB is 20K, I think.
Gotcha. Okay.
interesting. Yeah, and like to add to that, like even like going down to like Spigo. I mean, we kind of addressed this offline before we were talking about just like their prize money in general. Like while not a North American major, that's such an iconic North American race. And when you're comparing the prize money to say something like a Broken Arrow 46K or even the Rut 50K, it's still a several $1,000s less, if not 1,000 less. So yeah, I think all around it would be cool and much better for the sport to see more prize money in there.
Yeah.
Um, Pros of UTMB, I would say I'll second that they have offered a lot of opportunities to athletes that are not in Europe, and like North America, kind of like Skyrunner. But I do think they could do more. I think that there should be some sort of like financial incentive or something that helps these athletes get to these races. Like you
Yeah.
qualify for the final and you still have to pay to be there. It's just like Western states. It's like you're still spending all of your money to like go to this race, whether you qualified or you got in through the lottery, which is kind of unfortunate. Even if it was just like you don't have to pay for your entry, but you still have to pay for your like flight or whatever. I don't know. I just feel like there needs to be more incentive to like help get those athletes to the final that aren't sponsored, don't have just income that they can spend on this kind of stuff. My biggest con with UTMB is the ranking system. There is literally no transparency, no help like on a formula of what we're looking for, what we're working with. There are plenty of other sports that have ranking systems like this, and UTMB basically has a monopoly over everybody's rankings, which is crazy to me, but mostly it's that it's not intuitive and it's not transparent. I was talking to a friend about skiing rankings recently for Nordic skiing, and he was like, yeah, I mean, you could basically do the calculation on your own because you know exactly what they're looking for in terms of like times and stuff. It's kind of the same way with like world athletics, or even just like as simple as a decathlon, where you know exactly what you have to jump in the high jump, what you got to run in the 800, to like get a certain amount of points. We need way more transparency in like why do these numbers matter? Because right now, to me, they still feel like silly little numbers that unfortunately rule most of our lives.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. That's actually a really good one. I like that topic a lot because there's a lot of races that don't even get factored in. Like for instance, none of the Cirque Series races weigh into UTMB index. There's
Yeah.
quite a few races like especially on the North American side that don't even get thrown in there. So yeah, I struggle with it. I don't really like what they. I think there needs to be some sort of better framework put in so that way like it can be a little like it just needs to be more transparent, more fair.
Or more independent. It has to be one of the two. Like either it needs to be a completely separate, not race affiliated organization that's putting together these point systems, or UTMB needs to like tell us what the hell they're doing.
Yeah, yeah.
No, it's so true. It's weird to think that one series makes your score for any series that's inputted into the system.
Yeah.
Like it almost should be given back to ITRA. And
Yes.
like ITRA is the
Or
central.
like WMRA because they're like World Athletics Associated. Like if we want this to become like an Olympic sport one day, obviously it's going to be this whole weird nuanced thing, but like you have to have a ranking system for people that makes more sense and is more like obvious.
Yeah, because right now there's ITRA. I mean, there's so many ranking systems.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know about you guys, but like I'll get tagged in something and be like, "You got this many points." I'm like, "From where?" I don't
Where
know.
was I? What did I
Where
do?
was I? And yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. Yeah, it's like if you got a FICO score and you banked with Chase, but Bank of America was in charge of like your credit score or something instead of the FICO thing. Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nothing matches. It's like a credit score. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Even credit scores don't make sense sometimes.
Yeah, it's credit scores.
You're like, I paid off my loans and my score went down. That's
Love that.
exactly
Yeah.
UTMB index. It's like, I beat the course record by 10 minutes and I got 50 less points.
Yes.
What? That makes no sense at all.
Ugh.
What do
All
you,
right.
We could probably talk about that for a long time, so we should probably
Yeah.
do we want to
Oh,
move on from UTMB or do we want to stay on UTMB?
if
move
you've got
on.
another
Oh yeah, if you got one more
point,
thing.
I just
shoot
have one.
it.
My one. I have two. Like I have a pro and a con. I think the pro is more an open-ended question. Do you think the athletes are given a more of a stage to make a name on through UTMB just because there's so many races and so many opportunities to put their name out there? Do you guys think so or no? It's more just like a
The
question.
regular series or the final?
Whatever, could be anything. I just think it's as an opportunity for an athlete to be able to go overseas. Let's say they're racing Andorra, or let's say they're racing something like that. And I keep coming back to oh, his name escapes me. There was an American athlete from Salt Lake that went over a couple years ago, and no one knew really who he was. And he goes and wins UTMB Andorra, and then gets a shoe contract with Norda. And I just think that
Wow.
there is opportunities for is there opportunities for these athletes to continue to build their name and build their likeness for people to get an idea of who they are through having so many races, whereas those opportunities might not have been there had UTMB been lesser or something like that. I don't know. You guys?
Yeah, it's super interesting because like when I look at the UTMB social media versus the Skyrunner social media, I'm getting like as many reels, photos, media things in UTMB. And so what's it called? But for some reason, I don't feel so over inundated. But maybe it's because I know a name usually in every race because they're so spread out. Um, that's a really good point. I haven't thought about that. For sure, the final. But that's kind of like what came first, the chicken or the egg? Like, was it that UTMB existed, or is it the fact that all the sponsors were like, we all choose that one, you know?
Yeah.
And to your point, like, I do think there are certain UTMB events that we were talking about with Skyrunner. Like, if there was going to be a North American Skyrunner race, but it's already a race that like has history and is iconic, it's probably going to be successful. So, like with UTMB having Lavaredo, Lavaredo was already a thing before UTMB, and so it's going to be successful. Western States, I always forget it's a UTMB race, but what Western States will forever be, its thing. So if it's already iconic and then they slap their
Yeah.
name on it, then I think if you win it, like people know. That's interesting about that guy that you heard of though, because I have not heard of an athlete like
Oh, his name
winning
escapes.
at
It's
fin.
gonna drive me crazy. He was just supposed to race Speed Goat too and didn't show. I'm sorry to guy
No,
No,
it's
you're good.
okay.
You're
whatever.
good. No, it's
Yeah, I would
It'll
agree
come
that
to me later.
if it's a race that already has like notoriety, like even Canyon's 50K has become such a like a big name race because it's attached to UTMB, but also a golden ticket race. Like, it already had the notoriety. So if you win Canyon's 50K now, it's like a big deal. Whereas like maybe even 2, 3 years ago, it wouldn't have been.
yeah.
Yeah, but I think it depends on the race.
I know it was a major 2 years ago too, or one
Yeah,
year ago.
And then
1 year ago.
the only con I have is monopolization, which
Ugh,
we don't have to dive too deep into because that's a whole nother podcast. Um,
I
yeah,
feel it. I mean, that's the index, right? Like
Yeah.
how? But yeah, I
Yeah.
would agree with that.
Yeah, UTMB is still, I don't know. It's like I do applaud them for listening to athletes. They do leverage PTRA a lot, which they weren't doing, and so they made an effort there. It's just interesting to see where they choose to like allocate their energy and not. It's like, okay, you're intaking or getting opinions from PTRA, but you can't fix the scores that define our world rankings and for our sponsors. Like let's kind of even
separate.
this out. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree.
All right, last but not least, because it's kind of the OG short trail series, is WMRA Valsier Mountain Cup. Or I think it's just the Valsier Mountain Running Cup. And then when it's a world championship year, then you have the WMRA World Championships. Um, I just feel like it's so hard because it just is always there, but it's never quite, it hasn't caught up like on the media side, which sucks because there's a lot of really
Really good
historic,
races.
Amazing.
insane
Yeah.
races. And they do like photos and stuff, but I think if they just had like an allocated camera team, kind of like every other series does, or contracted some media people, like it could really be big, kind of like the Cirque series. It's not quite different enough yet.
Yeah.
And I don't know, the prize money doesn't compare to the other series either.
No. Because obviously, like a huge pro of WMRA is they have so many cool short races and a lot of uphill races,
Yep.
which, we'll talk about in a bit. Like, we all think there should be more of, anyways. And it's like WMRA already has all those things, but it doesn't seem that they have the resources to like bring a ton of athletes in.
I go back to the same thing with whereas Golden Trail has done such a good job at audience capture, particularly on the American side. Like I think short trail in a lot of ways might be synonymous with those. I don't want to call them normies, but just normal people in the sport. I think Golden Trail is 1-to-1 when they think of short trail, right? Whereas I think WRMA could do such a good job at audience capture for the North American audience. Like it needs to be, whether it's through that social media channel or doing something to get more American athletes out there, which I think like you've seen Christian Allen. We've seen quite a few athletes go out there, but only those like really in the know, like know what races are even in that ranking or in that grouping. So yeah, I 100% agree with that.
Yeah, because like Broken Arrow was a Valsier Mountain Running Cup race this year.
Yeah.
But to the normal viewer, they probably would have had no idea unless they like happened to know what the emblem meant. Um, yeah, so
Yeah. Because Sears and All is also one that's always on there.
yeah, it's on it this year too, as well.
Mhm.
Sick. Well, those are the series. I just want to do a quick ranking. We started with Cirque series. Just rank it like 1 to 10, 10 being the best Cirque series.
Comparing
And
it to like other series or
yeah, or just like itself. So like I would give Cirque series like a 9 out of 10.
yeah, same.
Yeah, I was
Same.
gonna say 8 or 9.
Yeah.
Okay, Skyrunner.
6.5 to
6.
7. Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to 6 too. Golden Trail World Series.
This year it's probably like a 6.5 to 7
6,
for me. Yeah.
I'd say 6. Yeah.
7. I'd probably say like 7 to 8. UTMB.
7.
7.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go 6 again.
Okay. MK. I'm telling you, MK is straight.
I'm feeling
straight
brutal
shooter.
these days. Yeah.
And then Valsier Mountain Running Cup.
Unfortunately, it's like a 5.
I would agree with that. 5. Yeah. And it's only just because like I just wish there was no more name recognition there
Yeah.
for worldwide athletes.
Yeah, I totally agree. All right, you guys, that's comparing top series. This is kind of a runoff topic, but all of us agree synonymously. Is that the right word? Did I use that right? No. Is that even a word?
Unanimously.
Unanimously.
I was like trying to
Thank
figure.
you.
I almost said anonymously.
What
I
am I
almost said
doing?
synonymously.
Unanimously. We're
Okay,
adults and we
we're
have
adults.
brains.
Yeah. There should be more VKs.
We
Yes.
need more VKs. And this is kind of more, I guess, in North America because, like I just said, there are so many uphill races in the Valsier Mountain Cup stuff. But we have like 3 uphill races in the US, and it's just not enough. Like, uphill races are so fun, and you can do so many more of them without the same like downsides of just running a regular race. Even like a Cirque series where you're hammering a downhill for 3.5 miles. You just run up, maybe you take the tram down, maybe you do a little jog down. Uphill races are awesome.
I love how you said there's 3. There's definitely more than 3.
I know there's definitely more, but there's like 3
three
Yeah.
known, like super
that are
known
known.
ones.
Yeah.
What are you thinking when you say that?
Broken
Arrows.
Arrow,
Yeah.
the Rut, Mammoth Trail Fest now has Dragon's Back. Is there
Okay.
another one
Are
that
we
I'm
are we
missing?
including like is this more VK or is this more just
Just
uphill?
a sense,
VK
because it's
VK
hard to
uphill.
find VKs in the
Because
US.
like
Yeah,
you could
Mount
argue,
Washington, Loon
Oh,
Mountain,
Mount Washington and Loon Mountain.
yeah,
So five,
iconic.
but those are not like they're not popular enough. They should be more popular, you know?
But
Like we need a
they're
series
so
or something.
historic
I
though. Like
know.
I get what you're saying, but they have a lot of history to kind of
Yes.
discuss. Yeah.
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 I mean, you could throw even Pikes Peak in there because it's an
Yeah.
uphill. But I mean, there's a new Washington race, the Mount. I don't know if it's pronounced Mount Si or Mount C. It's Si. I think it's the way it's spelled. VK, which is like an actual VK and like less. I think it's like 2 miles, with like 3,500 feet. So it's like pretty darn close, or a little bit over. Um, yeah, I don't know. We just need. I think Colorado is a difficult place. The only place you could put one, in my opinion, is probably Telluride. If
Okay.
anyone wants to create a race, problem is our altitude is a little too high, and most of the ski resorts start high. So there's only really 2,000 to 2,400 feet of vertical. So to put an actual VK, there's not too many spots you could do it.
Yeah.
That like have like a ski lift where I think of like, all right, what's the logistics here? Like we're gonna have to have a way for people to get down. So if you don't want to jog down, we have to have a lift. It's like hard to do in Colorado.
No, I get that. Because there's the Vail uphill climb as well, but
Yeah.
that's not like a true VK. Yeah.
Aspen used to have a VK and they got rid of it. I think it was called America's Uphill. And I don't know why it never came back. So I wish that's like a perfect VK.
Yeah. I feel like there's an opportunity for somebody, maybe us, maybe somebody else, to do like a continental uphill where it's like each state has, I mean, I feel bad.
That would be
Oklahoma,
so
some,
fun.
but like have maybe regions. We'll say regions. So we don't need to, call out that Iowa probably doesn't have a huge hill, but like, west, northwest, kind of like Golden Trail did with those segments during COVID, like each region. And so you have three uphill races. Don't get crazy with it. And you can qualify for a final somewhere. And maybe that's Pikes Peak,
Yeah, I
because
was gonna say
it's in the
what
center, it's in the fall. You can do all these in the summer.
Yeah.
That would be sick. That's the answer. We
There you
solved
go.
it.
There you go.
we solved it. I like that. And I like Pikes Peak being the final as well.
Yeah, it's in a central location, great airport. Um, yeah, and it's slightly longer, so you can like do a bunch of short races beforehand.
Yeah. No, I think the VK or just the uphill races in general. My question is like just throwing this out there is popularity. Like Broken Arrow, I feel like has really like smashed the mold of like it's gotten that they've made the Ascent slash VK so popular now.
Yeah.
Like just that specifically, and I think maybe I wonder if that's had spillover effects to the rut and maybe some other vertical races across the country. I just my question is audience capture. Like I think if we were to tell a really good story and there was really good stories to be told around it, it could catch a lot of I don't know, because it's like a track meet. It's so hard and so fast. And I think people don't really understand like just how difficult it actually is if you're like really actually going hard at it. Um, that there's this is a challenge within a challenge, right? So I don't know. It could be like some really good storytelling and hopefully catch some like eyes. Be
I
kind of cool.
couldn't agree more. Again, those heart rate straps, test everyone's VO2 max like a month out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the storytelling for sure would be huge.
Well, and I don't know, because I hopped off for a second, if you guys talked at all about accessibility.
Yeah.
Like,
We didn't.
I mean, the VK is like the shortest possible like thing that we can provide. And yes, it is kind of longer in terms of time, but if you are looking at these three options that you have for like Broken Arrow, for example, you have to run 27 miles, you have to run 14 miles, or you have to run 3.5. And if you're somebody new to the sport, like looking at an ascent like that, it's like it is steep, it is going to be hard, but it's only 3.5 miles. I can manage that.
Yeah, a lot more approachable. So we just need more VKs. I'm not
Yeah.
saying we need to bring them back. They already exist. Just gotta put a fancy bow on them.
I think the Northeast actually might be an untapped spot. And the only reason I say that is I just got back from New Hampshire and Vermont and was playing around in the mountains out there. And the only stark realization that is just like I found like everything's a little bit strangely steeper, more technical, and there's just more vertical relief to be able to get to 3,000 feet, if you will, like from I just think of like a ski resort, right? That's where most
Yeah.
of these are held in general. As far as presenting opportunity, there's just like ski resorts are a dime a dozen out there. They're everywhere. So just to have those abilities or the ability to do that versus like some of the more Western states, it might be a little harder. So yeah, I think the Northeast might be for anyone interested in starting, this could be an
I
opportunity.
would agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you haven't already, check out Loon. Loon is a classic, iconic, historic. I just wish,
Crawling up a mountain.
yeah, but like to your point, like more storytelling. Like, give me a documentary about the Loon Mountain Race.
Yeah.
I would eat that up.
Shout out
Eat it
Tom,
up.
Tom Hooper.
Shout out, yeah, amazing.
Cool. Well, hopefully you guys enjoyed this as much as we did. I'm sure there's like 2 more hours of chatting that we could do about the state of sub ultra right now, short trail, whatever we're calling it.
Yeah, maybe we could touch base again at the end of this year. But if you guys don't already follow both of our podcasts, the Sub Hub podcast, the Steep Stuff podcast, Spotify, Apple, YouTube, Instagram, hit that subscribe button. And if you guys liked part 1, part 2, let us know in the comments of the podcast that you are currently listening to right now. And if you are a mega fan, maybe you'll even drop a 5-star review or just let us know how you're liking the podcast.
Yeah. And let us know if you want us to do this again. And if so, what topics do you want us to cover? Because
We should
I'm
source
sure
some.
we could, yeah, I'm sure we could come up with some stuff. So
Oh yeah, no, we could do a lot more conversations. Guys, I just want to say thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. This was awesome.
Yeah, vice versa. This has been the Sub Hub podcast and
Steep Stuff podcast. I'm sorry.
oh, so you're good. All right, talk to you guys later. Bye.
bye.
Bye.